You guys already talked about the Salem Witch Trials?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you guys know about the Salem Witch Trials?
Smidge.
Yes.
Okay.
There was a woman that was accused of witchcraft named Dorcas.
I have her in here.
Wow.
There's actually 2 Dorcases.
You're a Dorcas.
Oh, wait. Hold on. Got track.
Ready? Okay.
Witches. Okay. So, before we go into the witch trials, the Puritan legal code, it started in, they made it in 1641. Okay. And Salem Witch Trials were 1692. So, this is the worst crime to the least crime you could do
As a witch or what?
as a person. This is
okay.
like just worst crime you could do. You know how like the worst crime here is like homicide, murder, all that stuff. Worst crime is, I can't even fucking pronounce this. Destiny, you gotta pronounce it. Idolatry.
Yeah, idolatry.
Okay, it's called idolatry. It means worship of physical objects. So that's the worst crime you could commit. Puritan law. Second worst is witchcraft. Third is blasphemy. Fourth is murder.
Don't be lying on my name.
5 is poisoning. And 6 is bestiality.
I'm glad that's in there. If we're gonna throw it
Yeah.
somewhere, I'm glad it's in the top.
But like,
few.
witchcraft is above murder.
It's fucking sick.
Bestiality, yeah. At least it's up there. So that's how they're living. Like, if you do witchcraft, you can murder somebody.
Priorities.
That's fine. But like witchcraft, put you to death. Okay, witch trials took place in 1692 to 1693.
So 1 year?
Yes, it actually was like 8 months.
Oh.
It was from, I think, March of 92 to 15 months, February, or something like that. And it was like a 15-month period where the witch trials happened.
Remember?
Yeah.
Because you were there, part of it?
I've read about it multiple times.
Okay.
I just don't remember what it was.
Okay, so it all started when these 2 little shits, Abigail Williams and Elizabeth Paris, decided to like throw these little fits.
And then they blamed it on.
And they yeah. So I don't know. I think that they were just acting up, and then it's like when their father, well, Elizabeth's father, or they call her Betty, when her father like said something about it, she blamed somebody else of putting a spell on her.
Yeah, and one of them, like, one of the kids, their father was the pastor of the church.
Yeah, so Elizabeth Paris was Reverend Samuel Paris's daughter, and it was also Abigail's uncle.
Yeah.
So Reverend Paris called the doctor, and he's like, hey, I don't know what's going on with these kids. They're acting up. Can you come check them out? A doctor from a neighboring town came to examine the children. They complained of unseen items pricking them and pinching them. The doctor, who has never seen anything like this before, diagnosed them with paranormal experiences.
Period.
Yep. Side note, the doctor could read, but not write. That's his level of education.
Great.
So, that's fun. So, not long after they started exhibiting this behavior, they named 3 people of causing their symptoms. The first 3 people accused and arrested for bewitching Elizabeth Paris, who was 9, or Betty Paris, she was 9. Abigail Williams was 11. Ann Putnam was 12. Elizabeth Hubbard was 12. So they named Sarah Good, who was 37, Sarah Osborne, who was 49, and Tituba. We didn't know how old she was, but she was Abigail and Betty's slave.
Yeah, slave.
Yeah.
And
So,
she spoke a different language, so, like, obviously, so
well,
they would be,
she actually did speak some English because she has a whole testimony.
Yeah, I know, but, like, she, like, so when she was speaking in her, like, normal, like, her language.
Oh, they thought she was speaking in tongues?
They thought she was speaking, yeah.
Yeah.
I see why you started with little shits.
Or,
But like
witch
seriously, all the kids that put blame on the 3 women to start out with were children 12 and younger. Like,
burn. Yeah.
who believes children? I don't.
I don't.
Don't even be playing.
I don't know. So I'm gonna talk about these 3 girls. Sarah Good. So she was in she was in debt after her first husband passed away. She did marry again, but she still had to pay her late husband's debt, which put her kind of homeless. I don't know if she was couch surfing or not.
We don't know personal details at the moment.
But they would basically rent rooms from other people in the town to stay there for a little bit of time. She was pregnant and had a young daughter. It said 2 younger children, but I think she was pregnant with one. And then she had Dorcas, because Dorcas was her daughter. Her actual name is Dorothy. Mm-hmm. But I like Dorcas so much better. So the family was basically considered a nuisance of the town and beggars. So they were kind of outcast. And then Sarah Osborne was another one that was named as a witch. She was married twice. Her first husband was very wealthy. They had 3 kids. Sarah's first husband passed away in 1674. To help with the kids, she hired an Irish indentured servant, Alexander Osborne. They fell in love, but before they got married, they had to pay off his indenture. Now, do you guys know what an indenture is?
No.
Because I sure the hell did not know what it was. An indentured servant is someone who is contracted to do some form of labor for so many years without salary in exchange to learn a trade or to come to America. So, basically, I will work for you so I could learn how to be a blacksmith, or I will work for you so I could get on the boat to go to America. So he was, I guess, she bought him to watch the kids for childcare, and then they fell in love. It's like a romantic comedy, a rom-com. They paid off his indenture, and they got married. The 2 were found guilty of fornication before marriage, which was looked on with shame in Salem.
Oh my gosh.
Sarah and her new husband took over her deceased husband's estate, which caused problems with the kids because the kids were older. So, to recap with Sarah Osborne, she is accused of fornication, seized her late husband's assets, and married a servant, which isn't the best look for her.
Yeah.
In addition, she hasn't been to church in 3 years because of an illness that left her bedridden.
Doesn't sound bedridden. Just saying.
Now, Tituba, the slave of the Paris family, there's not a whole lot about her. It seems like she was a slave from Barbados. She was acquired by Reverend Paris when she was between the ages of 12 and 17.
Oh, Reverend?
Mm-hmm. That's who the 2 girls that threw fits, that was...
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. They think that maybe he acquired her from a debt that somebody owed him. So they're like, here, you could take her in place of money.
You going to hell, buddy.
She actually married another enslaved man, John Indian, which I feel like that name's made up. And she had a daughter named Violet. So those 3 women were accused of witchcraft. They were interrogated for several hours. Osborne and Good both claimed innocence. Tituba ended up confessing. She was the first one to confess. Some say she was forced to confess, but her testimony was like the longest one that they had. Some of the things that she said: the devil came to me and bid me serve him. A tall, white-haired man in a dark sage coat had appeared. He ordered me to hurt the children. She's seen a hog, a great black dog, a cat, a black cat, a yellow bird, and a hairy creature that walked on 2 legs.
Sounds like a Dr. Seuss.
It does, doesn't it? She also said that she signed the devil's book with her blood. That book had also Sarah Good's name and Sarah Osborne's signatures in it, along with 9 other women. She stated she'd flown on sticks with her fellow witches. They believed her. She believed her full testimony. As a confessed witch, she was no longer considered a threat to the community. On a side note, nobody that confessed to witchcraft ever got executed for it. It was only people that said that they were not guilty got executed.
What?
Yes. If you said if you were said that you're a witch and you point out other witches or whatever, you were free to go. I don't know if that's, like, if you're guilty, you're guilty. If you confess, you're a witch, right?
Even if I was, I'd be like, yep, I'm one.
I don't know. That really did not make any sense to me. Anyway, Tituba was sent to Boston prison to make room for new suspects. Later, Tituba recanted her confession, saying she gave a false testimony in order to save her life, and they also said that Reverend Paris beat the shit out of her until she confessed.
Oh.
So, I don't know what's true or not, but I feel like this is...
Can we find out where his grave is at?
Are we gonna dance on it?
Yeah.
I mean, witches' costumes?
Maybe. Spit on it.
Spit on it? Can we pee on it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna name some of the accusers. We have Elizabeth Booth, Elizabeth Hubbard, which is the niece of the doctor who diagnosed the girls of bewitchment. Mary Lewis, she's a servant. Betty Paris is the daughter of Reverend Paris. And Putnam, daughter of Thomas Putnam, which is a higher god person name in the community.
I want
Wealthy
to hear some
people.
messed up stories.
I'm getting there.
Oh, okay.
John Indian was one of the people that accused, or one of the people that pointed out witches, and that was Tituba's husband. Yeah. So as the hysteria spread, there were over 200 people accused of witchcraft, and it was all but in the 15-month period between 1692 and 1693. Here's a list. I got executed, died in prison, survived the trial period, crushed to death, which is 1 man.
What the fuck?
Found not guilty, pardoned, not indicted. So, like,
crushed to death. He was in the same town as the Paris family.
Hills, Corey.
and not everybody
With
was
rocks?
from Salem. Everybody was from surrounding areas. Yeah, they crushed him with rocks. I got him in
They
here
just
too.
put it on
They
his
stoned
chest.
him?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they
crushed
kept
him to
pressing
death.
rocks on top of him, and there was supposed to be a torture method, but they did it
I
until he
messed
died.
up. I'm like, how was Bridget executed and George and my girl Martha?
Are they in there?
They're highlighted yellow.
Hung?
It just says executed.
Yeah, they
were hung.
Or
burned.
I thought
They were
burned.
nobody was ever burned in Salem. So, of course, accused witches never always confessed. If you were suspected of witchcraft, they will have you do some tests to make sure that you're not a witch. So there's 7 tests that you could do to prove that you're not a witch. The swimming test. Accused witches were taken to the nearest body of water, stripped to their undergarments, bound and tossed in water. Will you sink or float? A witch would float because witches had rejected the sacrament of baptism, and the water would reject their bodies, and they will float to the top. If you're not a witch, you will sink to the bottom. They would tie a rope around your waist, so if you did sink, they could pull you out. Safety first. It was really common for accidental deaths to happen.
Yeah, I'd say so.
The prayer test was another one. It said witches were incapable of speaking scripture out loud. Witches were made to recite selections from the Bible without making a mistake or omissions. Any mistakes were viewed as the speaker was in league with the devil. The accused sorcerer, George Burroughs, recited the prayer flawlessly just before being executed. The townspeople dismissed this as the devil's trick and hung him anyway. So he stood up there with a rope around his neck and recited the prayer flawlessly. And they're like, nope, you're being hanged.
That's fucked.
The touch test. Basically, an accused witch would touch their victims. If the victim had no reaction, they were innocent. If the victim went into a fit as if they were under a spell, the accused would be guilty. Like, it's like if I would touch her and she would just start crying. Oh, look, I'm a witch. Rose Cullender and Amy Denny, two elderly women, were accused of bewitching two young girls. The girls had been suffering fits that left their fists clenched and no one could pry their fists open. When the women touched them, their fists opened right up. To make sure they were not faking it, they blindfolded the children and had members of the jury, the judges, because there's more than one judge, and then the witches touch the girls. And they would open their hands when the accused witches touched them. Ooh. Still, that was not enough. Rose and Amy were still hung as witches, even though they passed the test. This is disgusting. You guys know what a witch cake is?
No.
A witch cake is made and fed to a familiar, which is an animal helper of witches. The animal would reveal the name of the guilty when she feed on this cake. This supernatural dessert was made of the victim's urine, rye meal, and ashes, then baked into a cake.
That's fucked. That's sick.
They fed animals this, and they expected the animal to tell them who the fucking witches are.
It's embarrassing.
Tituba used this recipe to identify the responsible party for bewitching Betty and... It didn't work, obviously. It was used against her later, saying that she's doing witchcraft because she baked the witch cake.
Yeah.
But then they also use this to determine the animal telling them who a witch is. I don't get it. A witch's mark. Suspect witches would be stripped, examined for unsightly blemishes. Basically, it's like a Satan's mark. It could be a birthmark. It could be a scar. It could be a pimple. It could be anything on your body.
I thought it was like warts.
It could be a wart. It could be anything. Anything that looks odd. They call it the devil's mark. They also said it will change shape and color, too. And it was numb and insensitive. So they would... Or... Another thing they would search for is called a witch teat, which is a third nipple.
The fuck? Pervs. They just wanted to see one.
And the third nipple was used to feed their familiar.
What the fuck?
Okay.
Sorry, I got to this part and I just fucking lost it. I'm all like, not only are they looking for just like anything on your body that may look suspicious, but if you do have like
Imagine
a weird third nipple.
Third nipple.
But it's like some people do, or maybe like a wart or something that looks like a nipple, but like to feed your familiar, and a familiar could be any type of animal.
That sickens me.
Oh my god. So, some accused would try to cut or burn off any marks that looked odd, which would make them look guilty, which they're like a witch. There's a pricking and scratching test. So the examiners had specially designed needles that would repeatedly stab and prick the accused person's flesh. They would do this until they found a desired spot that was a witch's mark that was numb and insensitive. And it wouldn't bleed.
Tattoo gun.
Right? So they have witch hunting books and instructional pamphlets that said some witches' marks are not obvious and would need further testing. Along with pricking, scratching, they would also scratch them. The victims would claw the accused's skin until it would draw blood. If the victim's symptoms would improve after the clone, it was evidence that they were guilty. So one, they would have these specialty needles that will prick your body until they just...
Yeah, we got that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they would be scratched.
Mm-hmm.
Are you feeling okay over there?
No, I don't like this. Continue. I don't like the detail.
Okay. Incantations. It was also called charging. The accused was forced to order the devil to let the victim come out of their fit or trance. Alice Samsel, her husband, and her daughter were accused of bewitching 5 girls from the Throckmorton family. The Samuel said, "As I am a witch, so I charge the devil to let Miss Throckmorton come out of her fit at this present." When the possessed girls immediately recovered, the Samsels were found guilty and all hung as witches.
Sheesh.
The first person to be convicted was Bridget Bishop on June 2nd. 8 days later, she was hung on the gallows hill. 5 more people were hung in July, 5 more in August, and 8 more in September. Giles Corey was pressed to death by stones after he refused to enter a plea deal.
Yeah, because it was something about, like, his wife or something.
Do you know about Bridget Bishop? Because I really don't know anything about her.
Not a lot. Not.
What do you know about her? Because I know she was, like, one of the most popular ones.
Yeah, and I just, like, I'm blanking now. But I know about the 2 that were crushed to death, or...
It was only one person crushed to death.
One that was crushed to death, but his wife was accused to be, like... Was accused. And, like, she was... killed. And then they were, like, pressing him about, like, if you don't, like, tell us where your wife's stuff is, like, witch stuff or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I'm not gonna tell you. I'm not gonna, blah, blah, blah. So he was, like, sticking up.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just, like...
So they just crushed him until he told her, and then he just died.
He just didn't tell him.
I bet he was in the middle of town, too, when it happened.
Yeah, I mean, like... Well, all of these are probably public.
The gallows hill is where they hung everybody. So it was like a, come on down, let's see who's getting hung
So
today.
what's that look like? That area look like now?
Gallows Hill, I think, has houses on it.
What?
I think so.
Please go Airbnb one. I bet it's haunted.
So altogether, you know what, honestly, during Halloween, Salem is packed. There's a hotel downtown that my mom's been trying to get to. It's 3 years waiting list.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
For Halloween, like that whole week. But that one, it's like right downtown. You can see the witch's house. You can see just everything that goes on down there. Okay, altogether, 200 accused witches. 19 of the 200 were found guilty and hung. 1 man was pressed to death. 7 people died in prison. Okay, I want to jump back to Sarah Good real quick. Her and her family were poor and considered beggars of the town. Sarah Good was taken into custody on March 1st while she was pregnant.
Fans.
What is he doing?
He's our fan.
Oh my god. So, on March 24th, Sarah's 4-year-old daughter, Dorothy, or Dorcas, was taken into custody and interrogated for 2 weeks. Like, you guys know 4-year-olds, right? Okay. Dorcas broke down and told them what they wanted to hear, that her mother, Sarah, was a witch and consorted with the devil. I don't even know if a 4-year-old could say consorted. Sarah and Dorcas sat in prison till June 30th. Sarah went to trial and was convicted because her daughter's forced testimony. While she was in prison, she gave birth to a daughter, Mercy. Mercy ended up dying in prison.
Aww.
Not long after she was born. Sarah was taken from Dorcas and was hanged on July 19th. So from March 1st to July 19th, Sarah was in prison. From March 24th to July 19th, Sarah was with Dorcas, and then Dorcas was by herself.
And then they hung her.
Which one?
Dorcas.
They did not.
Oh, I thought that's what you just said.
No, they hung Sarah. They hung the mother. So, mother's gone. Dorcas is in prison with everybody else, and she's still fucking 4 years old. Ann Putnam named Dorcas as a witch, saying that she came to her in an apparition and choked and tortured her. I think Ann Putnam was 12. And Dorcas is 4. So Dorcas was in custody from March 24th to December 10th. 8 months. She was never charged, but kept till her dad had enough money to bail her out of jail. Her father had to collect $50 for bail. Because they were poor, they didn't have the money, so she sat in jail for 8 months.
Man, he better have been a prostitute and his ass on the corner.
A 4-year-old. By the time Dorcas was bailed out, that child suffered psychological damages. It destroyed the rest of her life, and it said that when she grew up, she became insane. So, how everything ended, the witch trials ended in May 1693, and it is 15 months after it began. Governor Phillips' wife was accused of being a witch. Upon hearing that, he said, "That's enough. We're not continuing with these trials," and ordered them to end. He dissolved the court that was created to do the trials. 150 accused witches were pardoned and released from jail. So all because his wife got accused of being a witch. He's like, "Nope, we're done."
What the fuck?
Yeah.
I feel like she's gotta go. With that,
like,
and honestly, I'm so disappointed it didn't end and like we the people stand up for the
no,
witches
everybody was like, it was a mass hysteria, and everybody was like, "Yeah, burn the witch." Okay, well, hang the witch.
Until they were the witch.
Until they were the witch, yeah. Once it actually hit home of the governor, and he's like, "No, you know what? We're done. We're not going to do this anymore."
Well.
So I'm gonna have some interesting facts. The Black House, ever seen the Black Witch House in Salem? I gotta show you some pictures. It belonged to Jonathan Corwin, the notorious judge in the witch trials. And now it's a famous witch house. In 1957, Massachusetts formally apologized for the events that took place in 1692.
In what year?
1957. As of July 2022, Elizabeth Johnson Jr., the last convicted Salem witch, was officially exonerated. That was last year.
What?
Yeah, she was officially exonerated from being a witch. Last year.
Oh, she's so cool. What the fuck? I'm trying to meet her.
She's dead.
Oh.
The Chief Judge, William Stoughton, did not have a legal background. So, that was fun.
Seems legit.
2 dogs were killed because they were accused of trying to bewitch people.
Why would you tell me that?
Because I ruined people's lives. 1 dog was shot.
No. Don't even say anything.
Okay, I'm done.
You can mouth it to the camera. But
No one was burned at the stake. All the accusers were girls under 20.
Great.
Greg Burroughs was accused by the Chief Justice of using an invisibility cloak given to him by the devil. And then people were accused all over Salem, not just the Salem town. So surrounding areas, which it has it in here, it started to spread. It started Salem and then kind of went outward to other towns and stuff like that.
Wow. Y'all were fucking cuckoo.
So, if we were back then and this mass hysteria broke out, would you guys more likely be the accusers or the accused?
The accused.
I'm gonna
More
be the
likely?
accuser before they even try to accuse me. I'm accused.
You're gonna start pointing fingers.
Somebody's gonna point at me, and I'm already gonna be pointing at them.
Statistically, I would be an accuser because they said that they were all under 20.
Right. I think it started to get to the where they where it's like somebody got accused of being a witch and they're like, "No, it was that person. No, it was that person." And just kind of went around, and I think they attacked certain families too. First, it was like the three people that were first accused were like poor. It was a slave,
Well,
and
like,
they were frowned upon in town. And then it got to
cares?
higher up people. So, all right, guys, have any questions, comments,
No.
concerns?
Are there movies about Salem Witch Trials?
The Crucible.
Yeah.
The Crucible is the most popular one you could watch.
And it has Winona Ryder in it.
It
Oh,
does.
perfect. Love her.
Yes.
And a whole bunch of other people.
Yeah, but Winona Ryder is the best.
Yeah, and I had to watch it last year and read about it in English.
Really?
Yeah.
My English class was fucking lame.
Dude, it was such a boring book.
Was it a good movie?
I mean, like, yeah.
It was homework, so no.
I enjoyed the movie. I liked it. But yeah, there's a lot of things that I found out that weren't in the movie either. I didn't know they killed dogs. Like, who would like be
the
like,
rage
it's a
that I
witch?
felt like I could kill somebody just.
Like, how guilty would you be? Like, so you're like Betty Paris throwing a huge tantrum or whatever, and then they call the doctor, and they're like, oh, they're suffering from paranormal experiences, and then they probably press you like, who's doing this to you, who's doing this to you, and they finally just name 3 people, like, and then they die because
and then
of
somebody
that.
named a dog. I'm gonna talk to that person.
I'll see if I can find names.
Thank you.
We'll get there.
I'll get the Ouija
Get a
board out,
Ouija board,
and I'm gonna wish some bad shit on them. I'm gonna be on there. Your mom's a bitch.
Your mom. Alright, guys, anything else?
No.
Savannah's gonna go throw up some candy later, and we gotta go check on Jen.
Yeah, I wonder how Jen's doing.
Alright, bye.
Bye.